There we go. Good morning. This is MS There Is Hope. We're visiting this morning with Natalie Gibson. No, Natalie Gibson? No,
Emily.
Emily. Sorry, Emily. What did I want to say now? Anyway, Emily, good morning. Emily lives in
Good
Bend.
morning. Yep.
She's been on the protocol a little over a month or month. You know, if I mess up so much, I'll start it. She's been on protocol a year.
Yeah.
We have followed her from like 3 months on,
Mhm.
and we have been monitoring her progress. Emily, unfortunately, didn't have that many disabilities. She has relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. She
Mhm.
will fill us in on her background a little bit, tell us how she's doing now, and maybe share some bits of wisdom she's gained along the way. So, Emily, without further ado, as they say, good morning and share with us how you're doing.
Well, hey, John, it's really good to see you again, and it's been a while. So yeah, I started in February 2022. I was diagnosed with MS in June of 2021. So I was on the protocol within a year of diagnosis.
Find the protocol again.
I found it because I found a video that you had up on YouTube, and
You
I
have a
watched that.
YouTube channel called
Mhm.
MS There's Hope. If anybody's, actually,
Yep.
if you're watching this, you might be watching it on the page. Anyway, go ahead,
Yeah.
Emily.
So I stumbled across that protocol. I got onto the Facebook page for the United North America, I guess it's the North American Coimbra Protocol, and I just studied it. I was really sick at the time, and so I did one round of rituximab to kind of take down the inflammation, and I overhauled my diet. I did all these things so that I was ready to start the protocol.
Now, when you said you were sick, you mean MS sick, MS symptoms?
Yeah. Yeah, and like you had said, I wasn't. I did not experience a lot of disability. It was fatigue. It was mental. I just couldn't think. I walked around with this lead blanket on me. I was struggling with my balance. I was struggling to walk smoothly, and other things. I had Lermit sign where I look down and I get electric shock through my whole body and all kinds of things. And um, so I started the protocol in February, and I started at my loading dose. And every 3 months, you get your parathyroid checked, your parathyroid hormone checked, and you get all your blood work checked and your kidney function and everything to make sure that your body is safe from the effects of the vitamin D. And at 3 months, my parathyroid hadn't really budged much, so we jumped up my vitamin D. At 6 months, it had moved a little bit, but not enough. So we jumped me up again. Um, and then at 9 months, my parathyroid had dropped to below where it should be. No, I'm wrong. It went to where it was supposed to be, right around 1820 for me with my doctor. And then a couple months later, I started having these symptoms that weren't MS symptoms. They were like I'd reach for something with my hand and my hand wouldn't touch what it was I was reaching for. Or I would stumble a little bit, or I was really tired. And then I had this emotional dysregulation. I was just all over the place. And I'm talking to my Coimbra Protocol doctor and I'm saying, what's going on? And she asked me to get my parathyroid hormone checked, and it had dropped down to like 8 or something, which on the scale that my doctor uses was well below what it was supposed to be. So we dropped my vitamin D to try and get that parathyroid to come up. And the first drop, it came up, not to where it was supposed to be, but it came up. And she said, okay, stay at that level for a couple months. Let's see what happens. And when we tested my parathyroid again, it had dropped back down. So we dropped my vitamin D down to what I'm on right now. And all those phantom symptoms and things have gone away. And I believe that it's really important we talk about the effects of when your parathyroid hormone drops too low, because you might think it's MS, but it might not be. So really trying to understand that you're going to have some symptoms when that happens, and to be talking with your Coimbra Protocol doctor.
Yeah, the facts of vitamin D on the body, the number one effect I've seen in this protocol
Mm-hmm.
is fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
If whenever Denise Meadows said every time she would increase,
Mm-hmm.
her husband actually said she was mean to him
Mm-hmm.
and irritable, Well, you do. It's an adjustment. Christina Keening has often said that for a few days afterwards, she felt really bad. I know that I felt really tired,
Mm-hmm.
fatigued after I would have an adjustment. So when you adjust, it will affect you that way. Then, as Emily's talking about today, when you adjust and then your PTH starts bottoming out, you'll feel down, lethargic. I've
Mm-hmm.
actually driven my PTH to zero, and let me tell you, when you hit zero, you'll be very tired and
Yeah.
lethargic and sickly feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that definitely doctors have to monitor too. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, you feel fine now?
I couple what was going on with my parathyroid and my vitamin D levels and all those adjustments. I was also under a great deal of stress at work. And it was, funnily enough, stress that I didn't recognize. I was just doing my job. And if you'd asked me, are you stressed out? And I say, no, I'm about a 3 or a 4 out of 10. But it was environmental stress. So I was working, or am working, in a program for young children who are deeply impacted by autism. And so there's a lot of yelling and crying and occasional throwing of things. And I was just doing my job, and I'm really good at it. And I wasn't thinking about it being stressful. So about a month ago, I started wearing earplugs all day at my work, and my stress level dropped. So I was dealing with a little bit of a flare up of my MS symptoms because of that stress. And so when we're not making the progress we want to make on this protocol, there's a lot of things that could be affecting it. And it's really important to be talking with our Coimbra Protocol doctors. Because when my doctor asked me, what's your stress level? And I said, 3 or 4. But she got me thinking. And that's what caused me. So now I'm actually, for the first time in about 4 months, feeling like myself again, because I've dealt with a PTH and I've dealt with my stress. So,
A lot of times people just need to know, is what I'm feeling normal? Should I be feeling this way? I
mm-hmm.
was just discussing with Emily a while ago that anywhere from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a very, very hard time.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that I've seen people in those situations start crying,
Mm-hmm.
tell me that they're quitting,
Mm-hmm.
tell me that the protocol doctor doesn't know what they're talking about. They're not all that up. It's not uncommon. It's just a tough time of
Yeah.
life. And it's a tough time during the protocol. I've often said this: getting sick is hard, getting well may be harder. And the
Yeah.
reason being is that you can be going along, skipping, and life is good, and I'm getting better. And then all of a sudden, you crash. Like in Emily's case, you crash and you're like, then you start questioning, you start
Mm-hmm.
wondering why. And, in her case, they were able to figure it out. Um, Sometimes it's just a matter of you're just healing.
Yeah.
You're having some down days, and you had a lot of good days, and you just have no down day. That's all there is to it.
I think
So
that's one of the great values of doing some ongoing interviews, is because if you just interview someone once and they're already healed, I think it's harder to remember the hard days. Um,
exactly,
but if you
exactly.
get them on the way.
I took some notes, and one time I said in my notes, these spasms in the back of my tricep are driving me insane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember. I don't know what I was talking about. I don't even remember ever having spasms in my tricep.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
yeah,
think if you were to talk to me in about 2 months, I'm probably going to be pretty regulated again and feeling really good again. And
yeah,
I never once doubted the protocol or wanted to quit because,
that's the
you
main
know,
thing right there.
it is my greatest hope, to heal this. And my doctor, back in September, when I was first starting like to struggle with some emotional dysregulation and some other things, and she said, what I call it is the healing crisis, where you get to that point where you're at your therapeutic dose and the healing starts to begin. But as it's healing those damaged places in your brain, it's going to cause symptoms and cause reactions. And you just know healing is happening, stay the course. And when in doubt, talk to your doctor because they are there to guide you
Yeah. I've,
through it.
I've spoken about Jerry Kraft, and if Jerry watches this, I hope he does. Jerry, at 9 months, I called him and he looked terrible. He looked like he was having a hard time. And he was going on the Facebook asking questions and, you know, but this is the thing I'll never forget. He said in that Canadian accent, he said, well, I'm just going to stick with it and I'm going to stick it out. And you know what? I called him back at about 12 months. It wasn't even the same person. He
No.
was smiling. He was happy. He finally started feeling better.
Mhm.
So I love it when Emily smiles because every time somebody smiles, it just reminds me that it's like you have to smile.
Yep.
I I do anyway. If you had only known me, 6, 7 years ago, whenever I had nothing to smile about. And
Mhm.
now I have a lot to smile about. But anyway, go ahead, Emily.
I don't think I have anything else to say unless you have questions for me. I know that in July is when I get my blood work and my parathyroid tested again, and we'll see where I'm at. My guess is that I'm either going to stay at the dose I'm at or I'm going to drop a little bit more. I don't think my parathyroid is quite where it needs to be. It's amazing how sensitive you get to that once you start doing this and you start to feel so many subtle things in your body.
That's something else I want to tell people is that when you start the protocol, you'll be sensitive to everything. You'll be sensitive how you're feeling, the how the sun affects you and all this stuff. And you're just
Mm-hmm.
every ailment that you have, you attribute to MS. When in actuality, like I had somebody on the protocol say, I was in the garden gardening yesterday, and today my back hurts. Is that an MS symptom? To which I responded, no, it's because you're 52 years old and you were in the garden all day, so your back hurts. It has nothing to do with MS. I
Right.
said, tomorrow you'll be fine. And the next day she was fine. This same person contacted me about an MS symptom a week later. Her ring finger was spasming. Okay. And she said, what should I do? And I said, oh my God, OMG, get your husband and go to the emergency room right now. If she's watching this, she's going to kill me. I said, get your husband and go to the emergency room right now. And she wrote back, really? And I said, no, not really. I said, you'll be fine tomorrow. And she called me an ass. And I called her a hypochondriac. I said, you're a hypochondriac. I said, stop worrying. But you know what, people? I totally get it. Because when you feel so bad and you have any MS symptoms, you're like, you just, you don't want it. The only
Mhm.
thing I knew about MS when I got it was I didn't want it. I didn't know anything about the disease. How much did you know about the disease, Emily?
Um, I had a lot of fear because I knew people who were very,
Yeah,
very debilitated and had seen the gradual and steady downward progression. I worked or I volunteered in a therapeutic horse program where people came to ride for therapy. And so I had clients that I worked with who I saw over time. And so I had a great deal of fear. And then I was like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can because we are further down the road. There's a lot more research. And that's when I started researching things and found the Coimbra Protocol.
You know, people, I'm not against people calling themselves a warrior or being a warrior. But let me tell you this, you're a warrior when you have relapsing remitting and you're still up walking around. When you're lying face down on the bathroom floor and you can't move, that warrior stuff, I'm telling you that that's not going to get you through it. The protocol got me through this. You know, it stopped my progression, you know, thinking positively, working out, eating right, and all that stuff. For me personally, because of where I was at advanced, it didn't work. I'm not saying it doesn't work for other people, but, you know, but I'm not against being a warrior. I'm not against, you know, being tough. I mean, that's the thing I admire in Emily and people that do the protocol. A lot of them are very tough people. They haven't given up.
Well, I think, John, what I was trying to say is that, um, no, I can't remember, uh, that I knew where it could go, and I wanted to try and do everything I could to let my body heal. And my neurologist was like, well, take this, you're going to take this drug and you're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And I knew enough people that had trusted and they took the drugs and they did what they were supposed to do and they kept declining. And there's a neurologist in Europe, I can't remember his name right now, and he's been writing a lot about smoldering MS, where you don't have any outward symptoms, everything seems to be fine, but the MS is still damaging your brain over time. And he's really working on that. And I think that the Coimbra protocol, you know, helps address that it actually stops the disease process. It doesn't just mask the symptoms, that it stops the disease process. And
yeah, the medicines that are out there are are right now slow the progression. Some of them may stop the progression. Um, I don't know, but I know the protocol stops your disease, and not only stops it, can cause your lesions to shrink or go away.
there's
And
healing.
Dr. DeMoss, I was interviewing him a couple years ago now, and he was just saying, in medical school, you're never taught that. MS never, you know, never goes away, never stops, you know. And people ask me what to say to their doctors that are neurologists. Typically, I tell them, wait until you're better, look at them and smile. I said, that's the best thing you can say to them because they can't argue against that. But if you try to convince them on a scientific level, you really probably need over an hour to do that. And then you're probably not going to convince them, but you'll make them curious enough to where they'll look the protocol up. And so that's your job. But the greatest witness or testimony you have is like when Emily sees somebody and she's like, she smiles at them and waves, like, I know something you don't know. That's it.
Well, I know that I have had very good luck with my primary care doctors. I've worked with two during my MS journey, and both of them were functional medicine doctors, and they were very supportive. I just shared the information my CP doctor shared, and they were like, "Yep, let's do it." So very curious. My neurologist was not supportive, but my functional medicine doctor went to bat for me and said, "Look, I'm supporting this. Will you support this?" And so that was
Unfortunately,
helpful.
many neurologists, probably over 95%, have a God complex to where they think, I know the human brain, you don't argue with it.
Yeah.
Um,
My neurologist said, I've never heard of this. If it was good, I would have heard about it at my MS conferences. And I said,
right,
they won't let the Coimbra protocol into the conferences,
exactly.
because anyway, so I don't want to get off on a soapbox, but I just want people to consider that, you know, this is hard. It's not easy, and you may want to give up and keep going. But
I think
it's
that's good
manageable,
advice.
and the
Good.
longer you do it, the easier all the stuff gets. But I'm really glad I found it, and I thank you, John. I think
I thank you. And if anybody out there ever has any questions, I know Emily will be glad to answer them. She's on the Facebook group. I'm on the
hmm
Facebook group occasionally,
Yep.
and we're always here to answer any of your questions. Don't
hmm
hesitate. I tell you what, a lot of people do. They don't talk to you, but they watch your comments on the
hmm
page. And so there's a lot of people in the Facebook group uh, that watch, and I encourage you to do so. I mean, uh, when why I started this, people, is that when I got MS, there was something like this, but it was in Portuguese, and it's still on the internet, still on Facebook. Dr. Wanderley Perez, and uh, whether you agree with him or not agree with him, he was the only person on the uh, that you could see an interview of people doing the protocol,
hmm
and that was very encouraging to me. Anyway, thanks, Emily. I guess we'll check back in. Who's that there? Um,
That's Jay who's packing up to go to work.
Hello, Jay. How you doing, buddy? Um, before when you want to interview again, 6 months.
Sure, that sounds
All right,
good.
we'll see Emily in 6 months, and hopefully she's doing even better.
Thanks so much, John.
All right, thanks, Emily. Take care.